The Aramaic and Palestinian Targum, reading Deuteronomy chapter 21. If a male be found slain on the ground, unburied in the land which the Lord your God giveth you to inherit, lying down, and not hanged on a tree in the field, nor floating on the face of the water, and it be not known who did kill him, then 2 of the sages shall proceed from the chief court of judgment, and 3 of thy judges, and shall measure to the surrounding cities which lie on the 4 quarters from the spot where the dead man is found, and the city which is nearest to the dead man, being the suspected one. Let the chief court of justice take means for absolution or disculpation. Let the sages, the elders of that city, take an heifer from the herd, not commixed, an heifer of the year, which hath not been wrought with, nor hath drawn in the yoke. And the sages of that city shall bring the heifer down into an uncultivated field, where the ground hath not been tilled by work nor sowed, and let them there behead the heifer from behind her with an axe or knife in the midst of the field. And the priest, the sons of Levi, shall draw near, for the Lord your God hath chosen him to minister to him, and to bless Israel in his name, and according to their words shall resolve every judgment, and in any plague of leprosy to shut up, and pronounce concerning it. And all the elders of the city lying nearest to the dead man shall wash their hands over the heifer which hath been cut off in the field, and shall answer and say, It is manifest before the Lord that this hath not come by our hands, nor have we absolved him who shed this blood, nor have our eyes beheld. Now the Jerusalem text says, Nor have our eyes seen who it is who hath slain it. And the priest shall say, Let there be expiation for the people Israel, whom thou, O Lord, hast redeemed, and lay not the guilt of innocent blood upon thy people Israel. But let him who hath done the murder be revealed, and they shall be expiated concerning the blood. But straightway there will come forth a swarm of worms from the excrement of the heifer, and spread abroad, and move to the place where the murderer is, and crawl over him. And the magistrates shall take him and judge him. So shall you, O house of Israel, put away from among you whosoever sheddeth innocent blood, that you may do what is right before the Lord. When you go out to war against your enemies, the Lord your God shall deliver them into your hands, and you take some of them captive. If you see in the captivity of a woman of fair countenance, and you approve of her, and would take her to you to wife, then thou shalt take her into thy house, and let her cut off the hair of her head, pale her nails, and put off the dress of her captivity, and dipping herself, become a proselyte in thy house, and weep on account of the idols of the house of her father and mother. And thou shalt wait 3 months to know whether she be with child, and afterwards thou mayest go to her, endow her, and make her thy wife. But if thou hast no pleasure in her, then thou mayest send her away only with a writing of divorce. But thou shalt in no wise sell her for money, nor make merchandise of her, after thou hast had intercourse with her. Jerusalem says, If thou hast no pleasure in her, thou mayest send her away with power over yourself. With power over herself. But thou shalt in no wise sell her for money, nor make merchandise of her, because thy power over her is given up. If a man have two wives, and one is beloved and the other hated, and they bear him sons, both the beloved and hated wife, and the firstborn son be of the hated, it shall be in the day that he devised to his sons the inheritance of the wealth that may be his, he shall not be allowed to give the birthright portion to the son of the beloved over the head of the son of the hated wife, to whom the birthright belongs. But let him acknowledge the birthright of the son of her who is disliked, and all that belongeth to it, to give him the double portion of all that may be found with him, because he is the beginning of his strength, and to him pertaineth the birthright. If a man hath a son depraved and rebellious, who will not obey the word of his father or of his mother, or who, when they reproved him, will not receive admonition from them, his father and mother shall take him and bring him before the sages of the city at the door of the court of justice in that place, and say to the sages of the city, we had transgressed the decree of the word of the Lord. Therefore was born to us this son, who is presumptuous and disorderly. He will not hear our word, but is a glutton and a drunkard. And it shall be that if he brought to fear and receive instruction, and beg that his life may be spared, that you shall let him live. But if he refuse and continue rebellious, then all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. And so shall you put away the evildoer from among you, and all Israel will hear and be afraid. When a man hath become guilty of the judgment of death, and is condemned to be stoned, and they afterwards hang him on a beam, his dead body shall not remain upon the beam, but he shall be certainly buried the same day. For it is execrable before the Lord to hang a man. But if the guilt gave occasion for it, and because he was made in the image of God, ye shall bury him at the going down of the sun, lest wild beasts abuse him, unless you overspread your land, which the Lord your God giveth you to possess, with the dead bodies of criminals. This is the end of the reading. Blessed be his name. I just want to point something out that was interesting. Spoke earlier about when you go to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God shall deliver them into your hands, and ye shall take some of them captive. If you see the captivity of a woman of fair countenance. Now, I've written a book called I Mary, and I've learned through the lineage and the family line of Yerusha that they were fair countenance, which meant fair skin, blonde hair. They were, which I believe the people that are spread now, the 10 or the 12 tribes that are spread throughout the world, of fair countenance. Mary had beautiful deep blue eyes and blonde hair. So from reading this, you can take a woman from your enemies. It's probably that she was an Israelite woman, and somehow they had been held captive, or somehow her family had been living in an area that was the enemies of Israel. But you see, they were allowed to take that woman back into Israel. And of course the man had to approve of her. She had to be approving. And she had to get rid of all the idols from where they were living. So she had to, and there's a wonderful story about Joseph when he met his wife. Oh, what's her name? Just eludes me right now. But she, oh yes, she was the daughter of Dinah, the lady that was raped by Dinah was the sister of the 12, and when she was raped she had this baby, and they left it at the gates there of Egypt, and Pontiff took her, and this is where Joseph worked and lived with him, and a long story cut short, he ended up marrying her, so she was an Israelite. And it's just the same thing. She had to get rid of her idols, and it's a wonderful story there. Maybe I'll read that when I finish this book. I want to get on and get it all done. I will. I'll dig it out and I'll read it, and I've read it to my daughters. It's the most beautifulest love story ever, about how he found his wife. And of course they got married, and then they had the 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and she was blended back into her true family. It's just interesting that she had to be a woman of fair countenance. Yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that. There's a lot of interesting things in the book of Deuteronomy. So blessed be his name. I hope you enjoy these readings.